So welcome to the shooting range. I realize it's completely white out back there because of the lights, but we're going to go over headgear today. Initially I'm going to go over what's in front of me, things I've used in the past, why things work, why they don't, and then at the end we'll go over what I'd actually recommend. So to start with, the baseball cap. Now honestly, for most people, this is probably the way to go. It covers your head. For airsofters, it prevents BB strikes to your forehead. It gets rid of the glare. If you wear glasses or buying airsoft goggles, it keeps the rain off your face, off your glasses. Generally, this is probably where most people should go. It's also lightweight, breathes pretty well. It's a good option. When you go to put on iPro, it can be a little messy because you have to basically put it on from the front and then run your straps over the back of your head. This strap is not adjusted right because it just came off a helmet. But when you combine that with the lower face mask, you end up with a bunch of straps on the back of your head, but it still works pretty well. And for the $15 it'll cost you, it's really a good option. If you're not doing any sort of vehicle-based operations and you don't have anything connected to your head like night vision or a camera, this is probably the way to go. So, moving on down here, next option, the Boonie hat. Now, these are surprisingly nice to wear. It's shaded all around my head. It breaks up the silhouette. So I'm less obviously a dome, makes it harder to spot. The problem is you can't easily add goggles to this because the strap kind of has nowhere to go with all this floppiness here. So you could potentially do a tri-corner. I don't know how you would get this to work well with goggles. I tried this once in the late 90s for paintball and concluded it was a bad idea. But if you're not wearing goggles, doing other activities, it's a decent option. But for airsofters, no. I really wouldn't recommend this. Continuing down the list, and this is my wife, so it probably doesn't fit my head. We can find out. Not even close. So our next option here, reproduction knockoff helmets. There's plenty of these. Oh, wish the camera would focus. Hi, over here, thank you. There's a lot of different companies making these. A lot of different factories in China making them that bring them into the US under different names. I really wouldn't recommend these. It'll cost you, depending on which model, anywhere from $50 to $100 for something like this. They have the benefit, they come with arc rails, which for airsoft is nice. We'll go over those later. You can get helmet covers for them in whatever camo pattern you need. The problem is the helmet covers never seem to fit right, and the sizing is always kind of wonky. Very few of the manufacturers on these knockoff helmets actually give a sizing chart. What a lot of them will do is put incredibly soft foam inside so that it'll just kind of squeeze down the foam so it sort of fits your head. But it doesn't actually protect you from impacts because the foam is so weak anyways. Good foam is going to be really rigid, and this isn't. The other thing is your NVG shroud, if you actually go to mount something to that, it's not going to fit. As you'll notice between that, you probably can't tell just by looking. This knockoff, that shroud, the open air, the area where your NVGs would hook in, is actually about 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters too thin. So it will not actually fit anything. Kind of annoying. So this is one of those things, it's okay for looks. If you're on a budget and doing something in a vehicle, maybe some events will allow these, but so-so. Not something I can really strongly recommend just because the foam and the impact protection, you're rolling the dice on. So, continuing down, this is actually the helmet I use most. This is a Pro-Tec PT Bravo helmet. Now, this is another helmet I would not recommend. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on this so you can see it. The problem with these is there's no accessory compatibility, so I had to drill extra holes to get this arc rail attached. The helmet cover I had to sew myself. That took a bunch of time. I had to drill a hole in the front to mount the NVG shroud. This is a surplus ACH NVG shroud. You can't quite tell unless I move really close. There's a bunch of little washers in between the helmet and the shroud to get it to fit. They're decent helmets, but just the accessory compatibility isn't there. And Pro-Tec's, I don't want to say anything that's going to get me sued. Basically, when I ordered this, they gave me a ship date. They missed their ship date. They gave me an excuse. They gave me another ship date. They missed that. They gave me another ship date. They missed that. I think it took me something like 4 or 5 months to get this helmet after I ordered it. And these are going for something like $70 for the helmet. For a legit bump helmet with good foam that'll actually protect your head, it's a decent option. The problem is if you want to actually mount shroud, need the arc rails for anything, mount a counterweight for a battery pouch, you have to do a lot of modifications to these to make them work. And at that point, like this is originally a $70 helmet with, I'm guessing, about another $70 worth of accessories on this, plus a lot of hours spent just in front of a sewing machine to make this helmet cover fit right and line it up. And I've still even got some marks from the tailor's chalk on this. Buying something like an OpsCore bump helmet or a Team Wendy bump helmet is probably going to be a better option. It'll cost you about the same amount of money, and it comes with all of the attachments you might want. And the last option I've got over here, highly not recommended. I wish you could see how heavy this thing feels. This is a legit ACH helmet, the Army's Advanced Combat Helmet, also known as the MITCH, the Modular Integrated Communication Helmet. They're sort of okay helmets. If you need a ballistic protection, yeah, sure, great way to go. And I've got knockoff arc rails attached to this one. Got a NVG shroud. I've added a helmet cover. Rothko's helmet cover actually fit perfectly, so I think this helmet cover is discontinued. I did have to sew the name tape section in. Goggle straps from Rothko, also great for keeping your goggles all in one place. The problem is this helmet, as equipped, not counting your goggles that you might attach or a counterweight for NVGs or the actual NVGs or a camera themselves, this thing is about 4.5 pounds. It's heavy. The one time I played airsoft with this, what I found is, the one time I actually played airsoft with this thing, I found I was getting shot a huge amount more because with the extra weight on my head, just instinctively I didn't turn my head to look around as much. And as a result, lower situational awareness, and I kept getting shot. And not just like shot in my head where there's armor, but shot shoulders, arm, torso, gut, abdomen, legs, all over the place. And then also due to that weight, after 6 hours of playing airsoft, rather unsuccessfully because I wasn't looking around much, I ended up in pain from the neck strain, like pain on my neck and spine, for 2.5 days before I was stopped being in significant pain. So I would really recommend against these. The extra weight's not worth it. Let's get the options I wouldn't recommend up here off the table. I will say the Knockoff, the one time it's useful is if you're trying to convince your wife to go and she's like, oh, I'll go if you buy me a helmet. She's not going to go if I buy her helmet, but it was worth a $30 try, or $50, whatever this thing cost me. So in terms of actually setting up your helmet, what I recommend, if you're running any sort of camera on the front, or the Psionics Aurora, which is camera, another video about that, add a counterweight pouch. Get a counterweight pouch with a battery in here. You can't quite see it, but it's an Anchor battery in this counterweight pouch. And you can run that up to power whatever's up front. Also, get a set of arc rails. These are good so you can attach your face protection. You can clip the face protection in, and it's kind of all one piece. It's kind of a nice way to get your face protection attached. I'd also recommend getting these goggle retainer straps on. So the accessories I'd recommend, as I mentioned a second ago, arc rails are wonderful because it allows you to clip your face protection to them, and this will clip right in. When you buy rails, these are Chinese knockoffs because I'm not going to spend $200 on rails. They should come with a piece that clips into them. So it'll come with this little plastic piece in my hand, and you can just attach that to your lower face mask. If you're going to get an NVG shroud, get something that's legit. This is military surplus, cost me $15. It's a better way to go than any of the knockoffs because it's actually going to be the right size. And as I found playing with this, the fit between this and my Rhino mount is just like amazingly perfect. So that's one of those things I'd say, get a legit NVG mount if you're going to have anything attached to the front of your helmet. And if you're going to have something attached to the front of your helmet, get a counterweight pouch. This just balances things out better, whether it's a camera or night vision. If it's a camera, a USB battery back here.
Open this thing up.
What I've got back here is just an Anchor battery pouch, and it's connected to an Amazon Basics USB cable. Just runs up to the front, and I can charge my camera or whatever else easily off that. Play around with it later. So that I'd recommend. Goggle straps are another thing here I recommend, because this allows me to just clip my goggles in there, and once again it just is all one piece. I'm just going to do that real quick. So let's just quickly put it on. When it comes to helmets, it's whether you get repro or legit helmet, you want to get something. Yes, I fumbled this. You want something where the suspension system comes down around the ear, so you've got two straps, one in front of the ear, one in back of the ear, and something around the back of your neck. It just gives you a much more solid feel in your head. And this is a horrible place to record. But anyways, this kind of is a nice all-in-one setup that I found. And then I can attach a camera to this cable here on the front. So, I hope this was valuable. Hopefully this information was useful to figuring out what kind of headgear you want. Once again, if I was starting over, I'd probably, if somebody gave me back all the money I spent on this thing and all the modifications and let me start over, I would almost certainly just go buy an OpsCore helmet. So I could avoid all of the sewing my helmet cover, adding arc rails, trying to jury rig the NVG shroud, and just start with something that just works. And since I'm recording this on my new range, we gotta shoot. Oops, we cocked the pistol first. Probably would have been cooler if I actually had it loaded. And since we're recording this on my new range,